the ability to use intermetrics in more of a generating cash kind of approach. So that's, you know, Bryan obviously goes all over the place, has tons of information, but I asked Bryan to sort of look at that component of the intermetrics tools and how we can use it as consultants to generate revenue for the business. So with that said, I'm going to turn this over to Bryan and make him one of our hosts in case he has any issues there. Bryan, your co-host, so you can be screen sharing, you can mute the world, I'm going to mute the world, you can unmute the world, etc. And oh, hold on one second, Bryan, you probably can't talk yet because I clicked on your screen too quick. Hold on one second. All right, Bryan, shout out to me.
Rock on. Do you hear me now?
Yep, you're in there.
Good. Sweet. All right, rock and roll. Hey, appreciate the opportunity today, and I'll share some stuff, and then we can have some banter back and forth. If I don't cover something or you want further enlightenment, you can chat me up, or we can talk. But here's what I'll tell you right now. I mean, I'm grateful to be able to share this, just some of my experience. Like the last 19 years, one of the keys to staying in business, being a solopreneur, is to make enough money to pay for your mistakes. I don't do this for intermetrics for the money. In fact, my income comes from my private practice, what I have in the Des Moines, Iowa area here. I do this for intermetrics because I love the brand, and I want us to own the world. And if everybody just could kind of understand it the way we understand it, then it would all be good. Because I think the biggest issue with training and development are the people in the training and development world. The biggest problem with assessments are the people that are in the assessment world. And we need them in the world because, you know what? They make us look really dang good when we get in there. So, and just to kind of give you a high level overview, I'm not a high D, and I'm a higher I, and I've got my altruism is very, very high. I am a high economic, but my empathy is really, really high, and my practical thinking is really, really high. Regulatory is really, really low. So when I talk about selling, I had to figure out a way to sell that would allow me to create recurring revenue based on who I was and how I was. I've got a business partner who is the high D in my life. I may act high D, but please don't misunderstand. I'm not. I'm a nice guy who doesn't like to close hard. And so a lot of stuff I'm going to share with you. And if you want different ways to kind of spin it, I'll make it happen. So a little bit of history. One of the things I find that's very, very valuable in terms of creating revenue is to open the minds up of every client that I talk to. And one of the biggest problems I had when I first started doing this business was like the people that taught me way back when in 2000, 2001, most of them had really never grown a business from scratch, or they spoke from a position of theory, or they got into the business when nobody was doing testing. And so it was kind of like, oh, there's a wheel and we're no longer using rocks. Cool. So, and I did it twice. I helped an individual grow an organization from nothing to 7 figures with 3 people in about 4 years. I knew nothing about profiles at all. And then when I started my own organization in 2005, I didn't take any clients with me. I left them all there. And I didn't have a non-compete, but I didn't want anybody to ever look back and say, you did this for this reason. So I've had to learn how to do it. It's evolved, it's changed, and it continues to change as we head down the path. So one of the things I continuously tell companies is, it is truly an amazing opportunity. I really, truly feel, so this is where I start from. This is how I create revenue. I really believe we are in an incredibly amazing opportunity and time frame because we're at a modern day gold rush. People are trying to figure out how to leverage talent in a way that they've never been able to figure it out before. And so a lot of times it's what you say and it's how you say it. And so every company I talk to, I bring them to ground level zero with me and say, hey, every other time in the history of assessments, people exchange money for tests and they bought tests. And the problem with that model is we were exchanging money for data. And we know today that it's not about just gathering data, it's what to do with data. And so with intermetrics, we help them understand, and whatever you call yourself as a solopreneur, I call myself a results group, right? When I'm out there working in the field, right here in my backyard. But, what we do is we help them understand what they can do with the data. And so rather than going out and selling tests, we go out and teach people how to fish. And so the way that I create recurring revenue is everybody that I work with, I teach them really almost before I sell them. And so now I trust me, I love to sell, and everybody that I work with, I mean, deep down, I'm looking at everybody going, okay, how do I leverage you? How do I position you? How do I pivot to make sure that I can create something out of this relationship? And the only reason I tell a story is to get them to click and connect and go, you know, that's not exactly true, but, or not exactly like mine, but here's my thing. So I love this phrase here. It's about teaching people how to fish and then providing all of the platforms around which what they want to do. So from the moment I start interviewing somebody, I'm continuously going into it to figure out, you know, how do they want to get to where they're going to go, and how do they believe their people are going to help them get there, and, you know, how have they tried it in the past? And I spend a lot of time where they were at before I take them to where they want to go. And every time I talk about the profiles, I don't talk about profiles. I don't talk about assessments. I talk about an objective system to leverage talent. That's the way I talk about it. It's an objective system that helps to leverage talent. And then they go, oh, wow, that's pretty cool. Because a lot of times it's the words we use. And what happens is the words we use will trigger that amygdala to shut off everything else that we're going to be discussing. And so, and I tell people from the very get-go, one of the most effective ways that I learned how to create recurring revenue and to create cash was I let people know upfront, because I don't know if you're like me, whenever I meet a new company or a new individual, they always ask me, how do people do business with you? Nod your heads. Do people want to kind of know how to do business with you, or how do people do business with you? Yes. Yeah. So here's what I used to get into. I used to get into this really convoluted way. Well, we've got this. And I'd spend all this time saying a bunch of stupid stuff. And what would end up happening was that they're like, wow, that's really confusing. Right. And so we did a lot of work with projects, and projects were cool. What I learned to do is from the very get-go, people said, how do people work with you? And we did this because where we were at was we were exchanging money for tests, and we were also exchanging time for projects. And what I wanted to figure out was how to create this reoccurring thing. And so what I told them was, I said, here's what we are. We signed one to 3 year long contracts. And those can range anywhere from $1,000 to $10,000 a month, depending on our involvement. And we are intimately involved in every aspect that revolves around talent, whether it's talent acquisition, onboarding, whether it's ramp up, whether it's mediation, you know, whether it's mitigation, whether it's training, talent skill, succession planning, and end of career. And I say, and so I tell them this, right? 1 to 3 year contract, and I give them this litany of things that they can do. And then what happens is their head explodes. And then here's what I tell them. But there's nothing that we could even do that would even get us close to that. But typically what we do when organizations get to go with us is they start with a small project and something really small that we do. And then what ends up happening is we determine if we have similar value systems. Now, I just gave you a lot of stuff in a very brief little synopsis. That's about 4 years of hell that I went through to get there. And let me tell you why that approach works when you get into talking about, and I'm not joking, we actually have multi-year contracts with companies. And these aren't big companies. I don't do business with Fortune 500s. I don't do business with Fortune 1000s. My ideal customer is right around 100 employees. And we have literally multi-year contracts with several clients that on the low end are paying us $2,500 a month and as much as $3,700 a month. That's kind of that sweet spot for them, where we've laid out a plan. Now, how did we get them there? The first time I met them, that's what I told them we were going to do. Now, what happens is they go to this place of no flipping way could I ever imagine signing a 1 year contract, let alone a 3 year contract, with someone that I don't even know what the heck he does, that has to do with talent and whatever the crap it is. So I took him to this crazy place. And then I immediately bring them back to this that says, but we're not ready to go there. So understand the psychology of that. I took you to ridiculous, and then I bring you back to this, which is, but we aren't even remotely close to that, because I don't know if you like me, and you don't know if, we don't know. We don't. So typically what we do is we do something small with you and a leadership team, and we'll give you kind of an exposure to our process. And that process exposure can sometimes range between, you know, as little as maybe $1,200 to $1,500 and as much as $5,000, depending on what you want to do. And they go, okay. And in that little small project, I'll offer you 100% money back guarantee. If you don't like it, rock and roll. And then what happens is we'll come in and we'll do this little small project, which usually revolves around, you know, whether it's communication, whether it's using the organizational health check, or whether it's using the profile. Then what happens is, here's why I went to ridiculous and came back to just simple. I want to get placed in their internal systemic dimension of thinking. I want to get placed in their systems judgment. See, when I took them to ridiculous, the reason they had cognitive dissonance, the reason they couldn't even comprehend that is because they have never, ever done it. And so when you go to ridiculous, they go, no. But then I tell them, we can't go there. And they go, I know. but then I subconsciously created trust with them. And then I tell them, but we should do something small. And now what happens is I spark curiosity. I leave the amygdala. I go to the part of the brain that goes, I'm really curious about this dude. And then they start to say things like, why would anybody ever do it? And as they ask that question of themselves, they go, man, what would have to happen for me to want to have a really long relationship with this company or this organization? What are all the things they would do that would generate enough value to me to justify 20 grand a year or 12 grand a year or 42,000? I mean, in their mind, they're going, what would have to happen? What would have to happen? What would have to happen? So then I tell them we do something small. And then what's interesting is during that session that I bring them to, and this may not sound like much, but I'm telling you right now, this is some freaking gold. Okay. And I can prove that it's gold, and I'll tell you in a second why. But here's what happens. When you do that small little event, that little 2-hour, 3-hour event with them and their leadership, with the assessments, right? And you kind of go over some stuff, talk what's your genius or do some whatever. Here's what happens. They're bringing a map that's still in pencil, okay? It's not real yet for them. And as they watch you in front of them, they're starting to place you into their system's judgment realm, which means you're getting placed into their future. And they're starting to go, I wonder if Bob could be a part of that. I wonder if Mark would be able to be a part of our succession planning. Maybe we should get Nancy to be a part of our strategic planning. So as they start to go, I wonder, and I think, right? But then you bring them back to reality, okay? So what we noticed was this. Prior to 2006, 2007, we never signed 1 year long. We tried. Oh my gosh. Now we would, after like 2, 3, 4 years of working with a company, we would figure out how to kind of get them to buy in and go, I think it makes sense for us to finally put you on retainer. But the problem was, I'd used all my magical sauce in the first year, and then I'm kind of making it up as I go versus trying to spread it out, right? And so what happened was this. We went from it taking maybe 2 years to get someone to sign a full year contract to less than 4 months. And that's no joke. So we know it works because what we did is we created that ridiculousness, got back to reality, did something small. They placed us in their system's judgment. They moved from ridiculous to reality much quicker. Now you're going to need to rewatch this because I just said a lot of stuff, but I mean, it took us some seriously painful issues, but that's the magic right there. That is some magic gold. When people ask you, how do people work with you? And they say, you know, and I go, you know what, that's interesting. I'm glad you asked. Typically organizations sign 1 to 3 year long contracts that range anywhere from, you know, and you can use whatever numbers, 2,500 to as much as $10,000 a month. And we get involved in every aspect of talent within your organization. We become the utility bill of talent for you. And they go, what does that mean? Everything from recruitment, onboarding, succession planning, mediation, mitigation, you know, as you look at even end of career, when you look at succession planning and, you know, who's going to be replacing. And then you look at annual, just all of those types of things, and even development, skill development on a regular basis. And they go, huh. And I say, but you know, here's the thing. And I let them go and I have them go, oh. And then as they're still in the middle of that thought, because I don't want them to ask any questions at that point. I really don't. I don't want to have that conversation because I'm not selling them. I'm not asking them for anything other than just to experiment on an idea. Then I walk them back into here and go, but we're not ready to go there yet. We can't even talk about that probably for a year. And then they go, oh, good. Because dude, there's no way. We have never done that, right? So that's what they're saying to themselves. So that's the magic. I'm going to give you some entry points because how I enter an organization, it doesn't matter. We will go to the place of most pain and then we will grow from there. So, you got to think big, right? You've got to think big. If right now you're wrapping your head into this thing and going, dude, there is no way on God's green earth I would ever get anybody to invest $10,000 a month. That's okay. If you would have told me that 5 years ago, I would have said, yeah, right. Because I couldn't get my head wrapped around the idea that someone would pay me $8,000 a month. But we had a couple that were doing 45 to 5. But 10 years ago, dude, I would have licked the pavement all day long to have a $5,000 a month contract. I would have licked I'm not kidding you. Because I'll tell you right now, it's crazy. So got to think big, got to get crazy, got to throw a bunch of ideas out there. And you got to get them comfortable with the idea that every other organization out there, they have a beginning and an end, and there's this exchange. And the one thing, and so you got to find fancy ways to say stuff too. So here's what I know about talent, right? There's talent that is getting help, and then there's talent that's going to need help. That's a funny way to say it, right? And there's a way to say it. And you can read this again, watch this again, write this down. There's two types of organization. There's organizations that are poor at acquiring the right talent, picking the right talent. And then there's organizations that are poor at developing the right talent. Which one are you? That's what I say. Boom, bah, right there. So you gotta find ways that cause their mind to go boom, and they go, dude, we're both. And then you go, it's okay. Most are. And I know I'm kind of being a little bit flippant here and kind of throwing some stuff off, but I want to give you as much as I can in this little bit of time. And then you can watch this as many times as you want. Maybe some of you are going, dude, I wouldn't do any of this stuff. But I'm just a big fan of getting retainers, not transactions. I don't want projects. Everybody that we talk to that wants to do a project where they say, we want to invest this much money, or how much would it cost to do this project? Here's what I'll tell them. I will take even a speaking engagement. If they want to come out to an annual speaking engagement, some of their deal, here's what they say. We got a budget of 5,000. We got a budget of 6,500. We got a budget of 3, whatever, 10. I don't care. I'm not a big guy that likes to throw out big numbers and act like I'm somebody big, whatever. I'm just telling you, even if they said it's $2,500, we got a $2,500 deal, okay? Here's what I'd tell them. Okay, I would love to do your annual, keynote or be a part of that speaking event. But here's what I'd really like to do. I want to know what you're really trying to accomplish. Well, we'd like to get them excited and fired up and maybe give them a couple of new skills. Okay, and then here's what I tell them. You know what I learned? Nobody gains a skill in 2 hours. And they go, well, because here's what they have. They have cognitive dissonance. They think that because somebody spoke to them, that people are going to change. But the truth is something that they don't know how to embrace because they don't know how to do it. And so what we do is you've got to change your belief system. And it's painful initially, because if you start changing your cash flow to be in retainer, it hurts for a brief period of time. So you do it in increments, which means you got to have a lot of looks at a lot of pitches, which is kind of the last event we talked to you about, which was giving this away as to many people as you can. Not as much to maybe existing folks, but I mean, I did a speaking thing here recently. I said, if you're not doing 100 during the Corona time right now, then you're not as committed to your success as you think you are. You might be creating busyness and activity, but you're not as committed. Here's an idea I just came up with. Okay, I'm gonna share this right now. Here's an idea I just came up with. I've been going out and I've been doing 5 to 10 LinkedIn recommendations per day. So I've got about 2,100 people on my LinkedIn. I've never worked LinkedIn ever. I'll speak somewhere, they'll call me. And so I've been going out and I've been actually doing recommendations on LinkedIn for people that I know and just saying something positive about them. And I think this week I'm up to like 32 because I just had the idea last week. And here's the thing. I don't expect people to give me recommendations back, but what I'm starting to do is I'm starting to put the positive energy out into the market and give them a positive recommendation on their LinkedIn and their testimonial. And I've had multiple people reach back out, and one lady told me that she had tears from the nice things that I said. I had 3 people going, dude, what are you doing? Why'd you do that? And many people say, but here's what happens. Create positivity, right? You need to be doing 100 of these. So, all right, back to what we're talking about. Okay. Biggest obstacle to getting to recurring revenue, it's ourselves. It's in our own minds, right? It's us. It was me for years. And I'm grateful to have been pushed. And I'm grateful to go to that weird place of ridiculousness. See, if it's ridiculous to you right now, that's your cognitive dissonance between what you believe reality is and what it possibly could be. I'm just telling you, don't take my word for it, but understand it is possible. It takes time. It takes effort. All right. So anytime I'm talking to an organization, I want to get them sold on the idea that they need to be hiring 24/7, 365. Why? Why should they be hiring 24/7? I don't care if they're an office of 10 people, okay? Here's the reasons why. It sends a message to the marketplace that says we're growing, we're vibrant, we're attractive, we're cool, and everybody wants to be in the cool kids club. Now, it doesn't mean they have to hire people, but how do they hire? They have a cool ad out there that says we're always looking for top quality talent, or we're always looking for go-getters or whatever. And then the gateway in, please click on this link, take this profile, and submit us your resume. And here's the thing. What I tell them is, you don't have to hire anybody. But here's the deal. If you had like the clonable, legit, rock star, crazy person come through the door, would you not find a place for them on your team? And doesn't every owner have 1 or 2 people in their company that they say to themselves, dude, if Bryan turned in his resignation, I wouldn't care. In fact, I'd probably be happy. But here's the problem. I know Bryan, and I know he's not good, but I'm going to keep him because I'm not very good at picking people. So I'll take the crap I got versus the crap I might get, right? And so when I have that conversation with an owner, they sit there and go, yeah, but here's their problem. I don't have a full-time staff person that can do all this stuff. And I say, no. And I've literally created little dummy sheets that simply say, this is what the disc should look like. This is what the value should look like. This is what the whatever. And I give it to them. And it's simple. And now we make it prettier now, right? But, and it's just for that one position. Maybe it's a sales position, right? Because here's what I tell them. And this is a statistic you can use because we are always helping all of our little small companies, right? Heating and cooling, you know, construction, little insurance, whatever. They'll look at 110, 115 to find one that's perfect in some of these harder to find positions like sales producers, right? You're talking about customer service folks, you're talking about internal secretaries, whatever. But I'm talking about like their higher turnover positions, right? Or their key positions. 110, 115 to get the one, right? The biggest problem with hiring is and you got to be able to talk about this, right? The worst time to hire is when you need somebody. That's the worst time to hire. And then if you tell them that, they go, I know. Why is that? And then you talk with them. Why is it? Well, because I'm willing to lower my standard because you know, if you can fog a mirror and pee in a cup, I'll probably take you, right? But right now is the best time to be looking for people. It is the best time because right now, certain presidents and CEOs of companies, I'm telling you right now, are losing their freaking minds. I've got a president of an insurance company. The insurance company's here in Iowa. The president lives out of state, okay? He must think he's like the CDC, FDA, and the governor and the president all in one. He keeps sending out emails almost daily and sometimes twice a day to the entire organization of like 280 employees about what they need to do to make sure they stay safe and about what they need to do so that the board of directors needs to get involved and get this individual's head re-screwed on because here's what's going on. All of the good people, all of the good, talented people are going, why am I working for this guy? And they're looking. So you got to have a story. People should always be looking and they should always be using the assessments as part of the applicant as they come in. All right. It's something that we've always talked about. Okay. When you talk about reaching a bigger, broader, casting a broader net, always be recruiting. And I talk about that, but here's what I talk about. What if you've got a company that maybe has blue collar or whatever, and they're trying to reach into because getting talent has been so hard the last couple of years. What if they could use the profile in the job fairs, reaching out, right? Everybody that comes by, rather than get like some brochure or whatever, maybe they could get a little link that says, take the profile. And then maybe this high school kid, maybe they go to the local high schools and they have all the high school kids take the profile, right? Now they're giving a gift to the local school, getting a big name for them, getting your name on it, because all of a sudden these kids are taking the profile back home and their parent, who might be a vice president of a company, is going, what are you doing there, Sally? What the heck's that? I want to know more about that. I mean, I'm just telling you right now, you get your clients always recruiting, always recruiting. Again, it sends a positive message to the market that they're healthy, they're vibrant, and it lets their competitors know. And then they kind of go, yeah, I want to do that. And then you make it simple. It can't be complicated. It's got to be simple. And tell them you're going to say no to 99.5% of the people. It's okay. It's okay. Okay. But that's a key piece. DTS, do it, train it, support it. So for the first year, my retainer is going to be bigger. I'll say, for the first year, it's going to be about $1,200 a month for you to have this retainer where you get unlimited access to the profiles and you're going to get my time. I'm going to come in once a month, look at profiles, and we're just going to create a cadence and a tempo, maybe on top of whatever else you're doing. And then what happens is year 2, we're going to knock that down to $950 a month because I'm not going to be coming in every month to go over profiles with you. So that's going to be why it's less. And then that's your maintenance fee moving forward. And they go, oh, okay. So then boom, you now sign a 2-year contract. First year, boom. Second year, boom, right there. Now, here's what I'm a big fan of. I'm a big fan of letting them tell me no. So don't ever give one company one proposal. Okay? Go to ridiculous, put what you want, and then give the one that's whatever. Most of the time, statistics are they'll pick the middle one. So, and I used to be afraid of them telling me no. Okay? I used to be afraid of it. Okay? I'm going to tell you right now, I love hearing no. And you know who I love hearing no from? My existing customers. I call my existing customers up, not all the time. If I lied to you, I'd say, oh, I call them every year. I've got a calendar. I don't do that. I'm not consistent. I'm not even a high C. I'm not a regulatory, nothing. But when I'm in my zone, I call up my customers and I say, hey, I have an idea for you. You're probably going to say no to most of it, but let me just run it by you. They go, okay, cool. I go out and I take them ridiculous. You know what's crazy? they typically pick something out of it and they go boom, and then the little retainer goes bigger. It's never a project, it's always a retainer. Even if it's a $6,000 project for 1 month, I just raised my monthly billing by $500. I never ever let them pay me. I don't want a $6,000 check. I want $500 more a month on top of the $250 I got. I want $400 more a month on top of the $1,500 I got. I'm just, you've got to start thinking about it in terms of I am the utility bill. Okay. Recruiting, huge. Okay. Development. You know what? You may have a cadence in terms of development. I'm not intimately familiar with all of the amazing, like, intellectual property and curriculum that TAN has. I do apologize for that. But I know that you've got curriculum. And here's what's cool. Most of the folks out there that use the tools don't have good curriculum. I don't create curriculum, but you got to have it. And so maybe some of the stuff here in terms of the development and the piece like that, you show them a stair step down. Maybe the first year you're heavily involved, okay? And you're doing a ton of stuff, right? And you're the one doing it. I'll do it at the top within an organization. And then what I want to do is I do the DTS. I do it. And then I want to find some, I call them like these little Austin Powers, little mini-me. I want some mini-me's in there that I can train to do it. I don't just train the HR folks. I want the managers, because typically what will happen is 1 or 2 or 3 of them are going to pop and they're going to geek out about it. And then what's going to happen is they're going to become your advocate when stuff slows down. Okay. I literally just had, we had a client that was going to renew their annualized monthly fee deal, right? That which included the unlimited assessment. 2 of the HR people have left in the last year, took jobs elsewhere. Okay. My key person, okay, got moved to another division that doesn't even have purview to what we're doing. But my first month, I made all of the managers come in and I taught the living crap out of them. And then I spent one-on-one time with each one of them. And I didn't charge for a lot of that stuff. I just did it because I know that creates for me tentacles deep into that organization. So it came up for renewal. And I told Jennifer, I said, we're probably not going to get that. So don't bank on it. They sent us a purchase order, unsolicited purchase order, wanting to renew. Why? Because one of the key people that I spent a ton of time with geeked out about it so much, never had a chance to do some of the work. He got promoted and now he wants access to it. So HR was like, what are we buying? We need to do our due diligence on this. And because she is so she's powerful, right? The guy she replaced was good. He was okay. She is a rock star. And she's like, we're doing it. So we got it approved and HR didn't even have to say in it. So now what's going to happen? We're going to start training the HR staff, right? Getting them certified, right? So that they can go, right? So I'm just telling you, DTS, do it, train it, support it, has way more value. Because here's the thing, had we spent all of our time just being the experts in there, as those folks dropped off, their dependency, because those relationships are weird. But you never know who's going to pop. When I go into a new business, I don't care if it's 35, I don't care if it's 50, I don't care if it's 100 or 200. I'm looking at every single person in the audience as a popcorn kernel. And I want to know which one's going to pop, because those are the ones that I am going to invest all of my energy into, because I don't know where they're going to go. This dude named Heston, he just went to a new company. He called me up. He's a manager now. He wants to say, hey, I need you to do for me what you did for my boss over there when I was running there, because now I'm a manager. All right, there you go. Stop me if you need to. I know I run off of the mouth. Gerard, you own me, dude. You can tell me just to shut up anytime. Okay. So another thing I talk about in terms of retainers right now, succession planning, promotions. One of the things I talk about is I want everybody to do like a vision plan of saying, okay, every year we're going to get together and we're going to review this every year. Every year. We're going to come in and we're going to say, okay, because like every amazing professional baseball team has a bench. They call it a bench, and meaning they're up and comers, right? And they're some of these organizations have, like the Yankees have little league teams in Cuba, little league teams that the Yankees sponsor, and then they see how they come up, right? And they recognize. I mean, that's where A-Rod came from. I mean, they've recognized these folks. Jeter came from that. These folks were homegrown from the time they were 12 years old. Every business should have a bench out there. And so within an organization, we sit there and go, okay, for every manager, every VP in the company, we need you in the next 2 years, that's what I said, 2 to 3 years to identify 3 potential successors. And every year we're going to review how those folks are doing. Are you training them? Are you challenging them enough? Blah, 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 blah. Okay. That's just a model. Now here's the deal. I don't have a client that takes advantage of every single one of these things, but here's what I don't know. I don't know which thing's going to resonate with them. You got to be able to talk to these things. I mean, having a 3x5 card talking. I don't want to have a flyer. I don't even have a flyer. The only reason we got a website is because people think it gives us credibility. Back in the day, you had to have like a brick and mortar building. Now you got to have a website. I don't give a crap about websites. We haven't even updated our website for like 6 months. If you believe websites sell what you do, your belief system is broke. Okay, they buy you. So get good at talking about what you do. Okay. Benchmarking. Okay. I guess when I say you control this at the top, takes years to transfer. You got to think about, I don't want to do work with the grass level people. Okay. I want to do work with the leadership. Maybe the leadership team's 3, 4, 5, and then the next layer down. And then I want that next layer down, not only to be developed by me, but then also be taught by me so they can go execute within their respective teams. The do it, train it, teach it model, and support it. You've got to get your managers to become experts at it. And so maybe you hold once a month for 1 hour. Hey, we're going to review profiles, or once a month for 30 minutes, or once every 2 weeks. You just give them a download and how to interpret profiles. You've got to make them as good as you are at understanding profiles. If you do that, then they're always going to be acquiring access to this irreplaceable utility called the Intermetrics platform. That's the way I look at it. And that's why in 08, 09, we got devastated. And today, I'm not telling you we haven't been hit hard, but it is nothing like 08, 09, nothing. We are so fortunate, so blessed right now. I'm so grateful. But we learned those lessons from 08, 09, 010. Benchmarking. I'm not a big one in terms of getting super data and getting the micrometers out. You may have a client that likes that, but I'm a big fan of just letting them know, look, you know what? We need to take the top 3 positions in your organization, and over the next 2 to 3, 4 years, we need to have benchmarks for each one of them. And those benchmarks are going to be continuously moving. And so if you set a calendar together, get in your systems judgment and go, hey, at the end of this year, we're going to look at this profile. I mean, I've been on a school board. I was on a school board for 13 years. I've been in city government for years and years and years. And one of the things we do is we have policy review every 5 years, right? And rather than do every 5 years, we do this series for this year, the 200 series for next year, the 300 series for next year. So you got to become part of that. And so we got to look at the benchmarks. Is the benchmark still relevant? The marketplace is changing constantly. Our benchmarks should be changing constantly, which allow them to continuously be hiring against those. Okay. Performance reviews. Now, here's what I don't do. I don't say, based on your profile, here's your review. But what I will look at is every year I'll say, hey, we're not going to redo the DISC and the values, but we will just do the AI once a year to look at their internal scores, self-belief, role awareness, and systems judgment, and self-direction to determine where they're at. So where I know to focus. Because maybe if they got some role confusion, that's where I'm going to work with them on. If I'm going to work with them on their self-direction, maybe we're help figure out their vision of where they're going. But one of the things I look at is also to say, you know what, we're not going to try to pour them what God left out. Maybe we create more of a genius position for this person. See, if they were the president or CEO, we'd give her an assistant, right? Maybe they've got some key people in their business they're trying to fix, but they're not broke, right? Because they haven't bought into the DTS model, do it, train it, support it, and they haven't bought into the fact that quit trying to make your right-handed people left-handed, okay? Here you go. The emerging leader programs, this comes from the work that you do in the benchmarking that ties to the recruitment. And so you may start out with emerging leaders, right? You may start there. Then you need to help them understand they got to work backwards into benchmarking, into continuous recruiting. You may come in and they want to just look at a benchmark, right? We don't look at talent today, or whatever. I'm telling you right now, one of the projects I just closed this week was a company that's been kind of on the fence for like the last 2-3 years because they've been so busy that they haven't had a chance to really slow down and figure out what are the core characteristics of their rock stars. So literally 2 weeks ago, I sent an email to Bryan, didn't hear back. I called him on his phone, left him a voicemail, didn't hear back, sent him a text. And I said, we have the gift of time, Bryan. Do you want to know now? And that's all I said. He's back, know what? I said, you got 5 minutes? I called him up, said, hey, your people at home, they're working, but they're not really working full time. What if we took this time to figure out what we've been talking about the last 2 to 3 years? And he goes, oh man. I said, and here's what I told him, because he kind of was waffling. Here's what I did. I strengthened him up. And I said, you know what, Bryan, I've talked to 2 leaders in the last week that have told me they're going to leverage this time to learn what those characteristics are, because this is going to get over real quickly. And when it's over, they want to be in position to be proactively acquiring the right kind of talent. And I said, when they told me that, I thought of you. When they told me that, I thought of you. Now I'm going to tell you this. That's a lie. Nobody had told me that. But you know what Bryan did? Now you can think I'm going to hell because I lied. But I needed Bryan to get strong. Bryan was being weak, going, I don't know. I mean, who knows how long is this going to last? I said, I'm thinking, for 2 years, he's been using the excuse that he needs to figure out what the core talents are that make up his rock stars, right? So he can have a stronger team to achieve his goals. So I strengthened him. I said, dude, you know what? A couple leaders around said, they've looked at this as, we're going to come out of this stronger than we did. It's going to be over shortly. Let's freaking do it. And he goes, you know what? Yeah, I'm going to do it too. And boom, $86,000 project. I'm not kidding you. I am so grateful. $86,000 project got inked. And you know what? I won't take the money. In fact, I told him he can't even cut me my first check until August. And it's a monthly fee, and I'm not charging him interest. Yeah, that's it. Done. So now I look at August, and I know that I've got a 12-month contract starting August 1st. And that's when he's going to, and it's on a credit card, American Express, because it's part of his expenses. And we took that 86,000 divided by 12. That's what it is. And I'll tell you, between now and then, we're going to add probably 3 or 4 more projects to it. Now, that's rare. And that's crazy. But that's the part of thinking big. And you got to go to the point of entry. Okay. Emerging leader programs. Awesome. People don't understand them. You got to help them see it. Control at the executive level is huge. You've got to be the one that's controlling that. If your HR professional or your internal champion wants to be the one that's going to go in and go, hey, I'm going to help analyze my people, you got to tell them, no, you've got to be a student. I'll be the one that they can look at. Because if a peer tries to hold a peer accountable with your stuff, you're hosed. You've got to be the expert here. Let everybody else figure their stuff out. And then I'll let that happen down lower. But you are the executive expert. None of them get to hold each other accountable. Even if they're trained, you have a one-on-one conversation before they ever go in there and go, dude, don't ever act like you're the expert when you're around there. You ask good questions and just sit back. I did it wrong. Early on, I thought I'd let the executives who were geeking out about it co-facilitate and be a part of it, and they screwed it up. And those relationships went south. And I'm like, learned a valuable lesson there. So when they tell me, hey, what part can I play? And here's what I tell them. Here's the problem. Your peers aren't going to want to be as vulnerable with you as what they'll be with me. So you need to be as much a student and a participant of this as they are. So if you know the answer, shut up, let it go. And here's what they say. Say, you know what? Yeah. Because that might be good for 90% of them, but if they ostracize the one because they're trying to be the rock star, it's a problem. Any companies that are merger and acquisition, M&A, big time. I mean, I just throw these things out there, right? They have a ton of money that's available. That's 100%. They can write it off as part of their acquisition. They're looking at all the assets, all the liabilities, all the revenues, profits, losses. There's no real process out there to analyze talent, to figure out what the talent's really worth. And then also too, of the rock stars, of the studs and studettes, who's the flight risks, right? Who are the flight risks during an uncertain time, like an acquisition? One of our clients was purchased by Oracle 2 years ago. I don't work with Oracle. Oracle can have a nice day. I mean, I'll never work with Oracle. It was funny because we worked with this little small company. We started from a startup, and then we grew to like 100 employees, and they had a call center of 46 people, and we were just killing it. And Oracle came in, and they're like, so we need to understand your process so we can determine if we want to work with this. I said, I ain't working with you. Have a nice day. And we fired them. It's all good. And now what's interesting is all their people over the last couple of years have gone to other companies, and they call us and go, dude, would you come over here and do what you did for those guys there? It's good. So OHC, I think OHC is one of the most underutilized instruments on the planet. And so here's the thing. And I know, and Gerard, can you engage real quick here? What, in terms of OHC, where do you want me to go with that, or how can I talk about that?
I would leave that topic off for now because they have the access to the dialogue tool, which they're using aggressively now for organizational assessments.
So that's, because I think the dialogue tool, honestly, is one of the most valuable tools. You got to, and here's the way I put that. I put that out there 12 months out there. I put that out there 24 months out there. I put that out there 36 months out there. So I use that, and I use that to get into their systems judgment. So think about it from that perspective. I'm going to stop real quick here and see what questions do we got. What can I do from a question standpoint?
Hey, Bryan, this is Nancy. I have a quick question for you. with all the work you've done, do you have any kind of, say, sample profile that you could share with us that would indicate a viable candidate for a construction company if they're looking to hire team members? I have lots of contacts in that particular industry, and I'd love to be able to share something with them to get them to consider moving forward.
I don't have your question's a little confusing to me because I may not sell the way you sell.
Mhm.
Or I may not. So tell me, are you looking for, like, what kind of an employee, what kind of a template? And Nancy, help me out a little bit here.
Well, you had mentioned earlier that one of the things we can do right now in terms of marketing ourselves is to encourage our existing clients to use the tool and then get them to promote the tool. Well, I have a
Yep.
number of clients who are in the construction arena. I haven't gotten them to use the tool, and I want to. Are there any particular characteristics in that particular industry that you find kind of pop up that I could say, this is why you might want to look at using this as a recruitment tool?
Good question. Okay, I understand it better. Thanks for re-explaining it to me. So the points of entry in the construction world, whether it's commercial construction, whether it's concrete, whether it's those types of things, typically the hourly workers is not something that I've gotten into. The only reason I would use it with hourly workers is not necessarily to determine if they would be good or not. It'd be for the major issues. Okay. And when I say major issues, what I tell them is, look, if they've got a 4.0 on self-belief, self-esteem, then it's an avoid, right? If they're a 5 on the D, so we'll look at it more from the standpoint of who are we not going to move forward with, okay, versus who are the absolute yeses. But where you have the greatest opportunity to make a difference is on the superintendent, job site administrators. Those are the ones that make or break all their profit margins right there. And those are the ones that literally can command their own price right now. If you're working in construction, you know that, right? Those are the folks that'll move. You know, they're making anywhere from 60 to 95,000, right? And they deal on one project. The architects start to freaking stress them out, or the owner of the project's killing them, and so they just go to heck with this. I'm making 72. I'll go there for 76. You give me a truck and a new cell phone, I'm out, right? But then they get the superintendent that's not good. So the characteristics, I don't have a template per se, but I know how to talk about the superintendent because I've heard from owners. And I started working, I did a big project for a concrete and paving company back in 2001. And here's what I ask them. Here's the big question to ask a construction company, okay? This is the question you ask them. How do you make money? And I know it sounds really simple, but you would be so amazed by the answer to that question. If I asked you all, I did work for not a lot of work, but a little bit of work for an independent family who owned a pizza business. They owned like 3 Pizza Huts, okay? So if you ask the owner, I ask every owner I meet, how do you make money in this business? What do you think the owner of the Pizza Huts, the 4 of them, what do you think he answered? What do you think the answer was for pizza? How do they make money in pizza? Go ahead, go, yeah, go, yep.
A beverage.
I would think so too. Anybody else got a guess? Here's what he said. He said, and he was Italian. He goes, growing up, Bryan, he says, you know what my grandfather used to tell me? He says, your gold in this business is cheese. I'm like, shut up, dude. He goes, no, it's cheese. So why is that? He goes, it's got an expiration date on it. Everything else we got in here. He goes, so you cut a half a cup off of every pizza of cheese? He goes, that's our goal. That's how we made our money. And I'm like, shut the front door. And these guys made money. They made money. But here's the deal. Not every pizza joint might think that. Some might think it's the beverage. Some might think but here's the thing. I ask every owner that I meet how they make money. So Nancy, to your point, when I worked at the concrete and paving company, I asked him, I said, how do you make money? He goes, we make money by not making a mistake. And I said, tell me about that. He said, we hired a consulting firm to come in and they quantified what every mistake cost us. And I said, how much does a mistake cost you? He said, $35,000. And I said, shut up, Brad. $35,000 every mistake. I said, how'd you figure that? He says, because when we make a mistake, we generally don't find out until after we've gone to the next job site. We have to either get that job done, leave that job because it's timing. we got to go back. We got to fix what we did, which costs us in time and labor and lost productivity, $35,000. And I said, so how many mistakes did you have last year, Brad? He goes, 1 point some odd million. This has been like literally almost 16, 17 years ago. It was over $1 million of mistakes. He goes, because when we're on site, we are so efficient. Our processors are so good. He says, but when we make a mistake. And so I said, so what's the root cause of a mistake? And he goes, that's what we're trying to figure out. I said, what's your gut tell you? He says, my gut tells me that we don't have good job site superintendents. And I said, how do you know that? And he goes, I've got good ones that have no mistakes, and I've got bad ones that have lots of mistakes. Ah, okay. So that caused us then to go back and do a review of his world. And so characteristics of a good superintendent, I could throw it up and go, you know what? Typically, they're probably a little bit more of a higher D, probably a higher political, lower altruist. Empathy's got to be, 7s with a minus. Okay. Why? Because they got to be proactive, aggressive. They got to value their time, probably high economic too. They got to know that they're in charge. And the empathy minus, which simply means that they're not going to try to make everybody their friend. They're going to have uncomfortable conversations, because accountability on a job site is monumental, because the only thing on a job site that they have to sell is time. The owner has a deadline, and the contractor is selling time, especially when there's weather. So if I've got in Iowa, right, we only have about maybe a 8 to 9 month window to do construction before stuff gets frozen. And if it comes early, stays late, whatever. So each construction company is going to be a little different, Nancy. So you got to have a good story to tell. And then you got to say to them, hey, what we're doing is we're figuring out what are the core characteristics. This is what I'd say. I mean, I've got a couple commercial construction companies right now that I work with, and I got some contractors, and I've got folks that supply equipment to contractors. And I ask them, what is the most valuable position in your organization? And if cloning was legal, who would you clone, right? And then I say, here's what we could do. I can tell you what the industry says: proactive, aggressive, able to have uncomfortable conversations, not needing everybody to make their friend, but have enough common sense. And I can say all that stuff. I said, but here's what I want to know. Would you like to know what it is for you in your world? And so that's where I'd go with it, Nancy. I mean, I could write up what I think it is, but here's what I do. Anytime I do this, I always co-author it with the owner of that company, or the president, or the executive, because what I want to do is I want to make it theirs. If I give it to them, then they don't own it. And then they can go find somebody else to give it to them later. Because predictive index does that, right? The predictive index profiles, they'll go out and go, well, the industry averages say, rah, rah, rah. I'm like, whatever. I used to sell those tools too, okay? I've been licensed in lots of tools that will take you to court and go, hey, it says in Sales Max, right? If you score in this, you'll be in the upper half of sales earners in the next 2 years, right? And it's all validated. You know what it takes to be validated? To have a validity score that actually says, not validated in terms of ethics, but in terms of being able to be predictive. It's a 16% correlation. That's all that it is. To be statistically correlating to success, 16%, which means 84% I can't measure. And that's on one instrument.
I think but there's one question that you brought up earlier that sort of circles back to this particular point, whether it's the superintendents, the job site managers, or their key person who's the master electrician or the master plumber. The question, I think, to me, the lead-in question, are they a flight risk? What will happen if you lose them? Because that's the conversations. I work with them as a group. And that's the conversation I hear all the time. I have to be nice to him. He's the only master electrician I have. Well, no, you don't. But I appreciate this, because I know the people have questions too. But if I can simply focus on what will happen if they leave, I think it's a great dialogue.
So here's the question, okay, Nancy? So they say, I have to be nice to him, da, 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 da. Here's my question back to that president or that owner, okay? Because he or she is being weak right now, and I got to wake him up. And so I ask him this question. I say, what is it like to be held captive? How does it feel right now to be held captive by an employee? Right? Mm-hmm. Now, it's okay. I appreciate it, but I don't care. I don't care what's right or wrong. I just want to know, how does that make you feel? And they're going to go, you know what? I'm pretty frustrated by it. And here's, I tell them, I can't change it. I can't change it. Every owner, every president has that one person they feel held captive by. And you want to make sure that they feel like they're not alone, okay? And I don't tell them I can fix the problem. What I do say to them is, I say, well, do you know the key characteristics that make up that rock star? Right? And they go, Well, yeah, ... Okay, cool, great, right? I go with it. And then I say, have you ever guessed wrong when trying to bring on someone that was like them? And they'll go, yeah. See, you ever interview somebody and the person that shows up for the job isn't the same person that you interviewed? See, I'm putting them in pain, right? And they're gonna sit there and go, well, yeah. And then I go, see, I don't sell profiles, I sell objectivity to a very subjective topic called talent. And so replay this tape, memorize that sequence, right? Those sequence of questions, right? ... Because if I go in too quick and go, hey, I can totally fix this. I go, no, I can't. Dude, you're that sucks. I mean, what's it feel like to be held captive by that dude? Oh my gosh, right? Oh. And then I say, you know the characteristics? Yep. Can you objectively manage them or measure them? And could you determine those in a potential candidate? Now, some people will go, yep, totally can. Right? And then their next door neighbor's gonna go, dude, you're an idiot. You've tried to find 7 people and all 6 of them failed. Come on, right? But I don't ever fight with people. I just sit back, I put them in pain, and then I say, I don't know if I probably can't do nothing about it. This dude's probably a unicorn, right? But then I say, but wouldn't it be interesting to create some objectivity around this subjective topic? And let me ask you this. What would you do if you had an objective process that could identify the 6 characteristics of your unicorn? And you could constantly be fishing out in the lake, in the water, in the river to see if that unicorn in somebody else's world gets disenchanted with them and leaves them. What would you do if you were always looking for those 6 characteristics? I don't know which 6 they are. I don't know. Every business is different. But what I do know is we measure more data about people than anybody on the planet. And I don't know which talents those are. Would you be interested to know? And that's how I go with it, Nancy. Does that help a little bit? Cool.
Thank you, Bryan.
You're welcome. And I apologize if I come off as egotistical. I get jacked up about this. It's fun. It is so fun to have an owner say something weak, and then you just sit back and go, man, how does that make you feel? Another question? You can ask me anything. If I don't know, I'll tell you I don't know. But I love the sales scenarios because I've done them wrong. 19 years of doing this, I'm telling you.
Well, Bryan, you might get off 3 minutes early then.
Oh, man, I'm usually when I'm telling you shut up. So
Yeah, I know. For you to finish early, that's hey. All right. Well, Bryan, thank you. And as Bryan was saying, this will be up on the website. The PowerPoint that you shared, Bryan will share that with me, and I'll put that up on the website as well, right with the video, so that you guys can, if you want to go back and review and look to see some of those pieces, hear them again to slow it down, put it in slow-mo so you can take down some notes. We'll be all set for that. And with that ado, we'll let you all head out and let you know that don't forget next Learning Lab we have is next Monday at 3 o'clock with our new normal in the manufacturing world. So that'll be the 27th at 3. If anybody here at Trusted Advisors can help with anything you're working on, don't hesitate to reach out via email, text, or phone. And everybody have a great rest of the week and stay safe.
Very good. Thanks, Bryan.
thank you.
Thank you, Bryan.
See ya.